Okay, I think we're going to get things started here. I think we're still waiting on a few more people, but we'll go ahead and welcome everyone. So on behalf of Southern California Grantmakers, I'd like to welcome you all to the Veteran Peer Access Network, VPAN as we call it, the Veteran Services Team's request for proposal. This morning, we'll be doing an information session. We plan for it to be about an hour, and then we'll have some questions. We'll have some time for some questions afterwards. My name is Nate Grazer. I am a consultant with Southern California Grantmakers. My role is the Director of Veteran Initiatives. A bit about me, I have spent now almost 20 years, a little over 20 years in the military, Army, and prior to that, spent some time, I know many of the names probably even were part of this through the Los Angeles Veterans Collaborative at USC, and then a lot of other veteran initiatives here in Los Angeles. So I'm honored to be here to present really the first, what I see as really the first of its kind Veteran Peer Access Network, to build a veteran network so that no veteran gets lost on their way home. So we're going to begin today just a few guidelines. So first of all, any questions you have, you are welcome to type those in the question box. My colleague Kelly Armley will provide questions if when appropriate, and then any questions that seem may have larger connotations or more applicable to other organizations at the end of this, we may refer to those and leave those to the end. But if you have questions, feel free, and Kelly will answer those, or we'll get to them at the end of that project. Also, this information session is being recorded, so feel free. And a link to this after the information session will be posted on the website, so you're able to see that and refer to this as you're crafting your proposals. The timeline here, we're going to do I'm going to give you a little background about where the VPAN comes from. We're going to go over the timeline, some of the expectations for the service teams, what SCG will be providing, the training technology, who's eligible, and some of the desired qualifications, and then what is the format proposal, and then how will we be making those selections, and then we'll open up for QA. So first, let's just begin with who is Southern California Grantmakers. Southern California Grantmakers actually started in 1973 when some LA area foundations came together and really a common vision to build a community of grantmakers. Now, about 40 years later, we have over 300 grantmakers of all different types, and really have 40 years of a legacy of working to build a much stronger, vibrant philanthropic community. And so as part of that work, we have convened, or really the last 5 years, the Veterans Funders Group. And the goal of the last 5 years really has been to help craft and convene veteran-focused foundations and get their insight into help shaping a network. And actually, a lot of the VPAN, some of the VPAN was shaped by many of their insights into funding and working with service providers, maybe many of which may be on the line today, to build a network and connect not just service organizations, but those who fund service organizations. So what is the Veteran Peer Access Network? The Veteran Peer Access Network has been a long time coming. Many of you have probably heard about that. Heard about it, maybe it was a county press release, maybe it was Jim at the Los Angeles Veterans Collaborative, whatever it may be. It formalized in the end of last year, 2019, when the Board of Supervisors authorized over $33 million to fund really the first of its kind veteran peer-to-peer program. And I would picture a backbone there, because the vision is that the Veteran Peer Access Network will actually be the backbone for services and support, and be the linkage to the support that veteran and military families need within LA County. And that is quite a mission. And this is really done and this also represents a very new concept because SCG is acting as VPN's fiscal intermediary for the LA County. And we have been given the authority to enter into $3.8 million in public-private partnership. And so what this means is that we will be managing and through RFPs and then managing the contracts for the 5 community-based organizations, providing all the training technology, really the infrastructure for the Veteran Peer Access Network as an intermediary to LA County. So big picture, the VPN's mission and vision is to establish really a no wrong door approach, or this idea that we would have rally points across LA County. So, and it's rooted in this idea that each of the supervisorial districts will have a rally point in a strategic place that would provide for a coordinated network of care, so that a veteran or military family member can access any of these rally points, or maybe even the community access points to get to the rally point, so that they have access to the support services across LA County and within their supervisorial district. If you're familiar with the concept of rally point, a rally point is, in military terminology, is a place that you go to when you get lost or disoriented, and that's that's the vision here. For those who wonder where this comes from, you know, in my time at USC, we did a number of State of the American Veteran Studies, and a quote stands out to me from one of them. It says, "I know the help is out there in theory, but the problem is to use it. You get to run around a lot. When you ask to use it, they give you a form to sign and transfer over to someone that has no idea what you're talking about, and then you have to start from scratch and keep digging. By the time you find the information you need, it's too late, and then you have to start all over again." This is exactly the issue and the challenge that the VPAN aims to address, that veterans will have a mechanism to be able to access services and then some accountability to ensure that they get those. So that's a little background. As of last Friday, marks the day when we released the RFP, marks the day that we have initiated this journey, this 3-year journey to implement and roll out really the country's largest Veteran Peer Access Network. So this marks an exciting day, an exciting time for Los Angeles. And so let me tell you a little bit how that will work. To the details. So Southern California, SCG's, our contract with LA County DMH started on July 1st. It's a 3-year term. And I'm going to go into each of the deliverables a little bit more detail, but broadly, we are soliciting for the RFP for the 5 community-based organizations to deliver these peer services. We will be, we're going to contract with a VPN technology platform vendor. We will be providing all the training, so that's a peer support specialist. That's all the other training that peers and the staff may need. That's also the management of the contracts, and that includes the quality control planning, any of that outcome data. Here is an overview of the timeline. Some dates to note here. The proposals are due on September 14th, on Monday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And the contract start, we will select the providers on October 2nd, and then the VPN contract start date is October 15th. So you can see it's a fast timeline, but there's a lot of work to do and a great need, especially given you know, our current challenges across LA County. This is just a tremendous asset. We want to get this rolling ASAP. So what will the contract CBOs, the Veteran Services teams, do? Each of them will, contract CBO will deploy a program manager who has at least 2 years supervisory experience, 2 squad leaders, and 5 battle buddy peers who are their veterans or military-related family members. What will they be doing? The contracted CBOs will be required to provide all of these services. Specifically, each one of these will be the linkage, coordination, and then a thought process for how they do outreach, peer support, crisis management, and then Where will these be located? As I mentioned before, each of the contracted community-based organizations will be located in one of the supervisorial districts. So they will have a rally point in one of the supervisorial districts. And if you can think about this as like a hub and spoke concept, so that there's a center place where DMH will be co-located, and that will be where the hub of a lot of the work and network are. But there'll be all these linkages to community access points and strategic locations across the supervisorial districts, so to ensure that no matter where veterans go, they're able to get connected to the support they need, and they don't have to know something. They don't have to necessarily navigate to the exact right location. They can just access the point at any of the community access points, and they'll get referred to the support they need. So all the trainings will be paid for via SCG. So this includes the peer support certification training, which is a 2-week course, risk mitigation, a day course, as well as UCLA's Veteran Family Wellness Center. So that will be trained they will have access to be trained in the Veteran Family Peer Navigator training, psychological first aid, and then access to really a world-class learning community to help support some of the learning and the ongoing support, especially in the first year. We'll really be building some of those practices and skill sets for the onboarded peers. We'll also be providing a technology platform. So SCG will be paying for the technology licenses, and this is really designed, this software will provide a platform to assess, not just assess veterans' needs, but then help match and link them to the service providers, and then track the time that they get from the time they enter into into the system, and then are referred and then follow up. And the technology platform will help us gather some outcome data so that we can report and ultimately meet the requirements of the MHSA funding. So who's eligible? In order to be eligible, you have to submit a proposal by September 14th, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You must have a physical location in the supervisory district. It's not enough to just do work in that. You have to actually have in the supervisory district, you have to actually have a physical location. We want organizations, CBOs specifically, to have a physical presence in their supervisory district. You have to be in the 501c3. And you also have to have a minimum of 3 years experience in the last 5 providing services to veterans and military families and coordinating services. And you can refer to Section 6 scope of work. This really means that you have experience and you're culturally competent in veteran military, working with veteran military families. Here is a summary of some of the desired CBO qualifications. So all of these in this list will be used as part of our rubric for how we evaluate and choose and score the proposals. So each of these, as you can imagine, CBOs that score higher will have more desired qualifications. As you can see on this list, some of them would include a board member who's a veteran. You already have a lot of experience or affiliation or MOUs with organizations like Veterans Collaborative or County Systems of Care, or maybe you already have service programming that includes some of the services that peers might be providing. Any questions about this, you can refer to RFP Section 8. Page 19. So the proposal format will consist of 2 different parts. There's a business proposal and a cost proposal. This business proposal is a little bit shorter. It's concise. So it's roughly about 7 pages total. We're actually going off characters, not pages. So we've just put some estimated pages in there. It will include an executive summary, a proposer qualification, proposer's approach, and then a quality assurance plan, and then the cost proposal, which will be really a line item budget and a budget summary narrative. So a little bit of details here. The executive summary is really a condensed version of of the proposal. So what are your qualifications, your experience? What's your approach in staffing? So think about this from the perspective, how will your, the executive summary should be a big picture understanding of how your approach will meet the goals of VPAN in that supervisory district. The proposal qualification. So what's the background and experience of the organization, and then and that would include your mission, vision, core values, and for the qualifications specifically, this is really where we also want to. This is where your understanding of the supervisory district is going to be really important. So what are those? What's unique to your supervisory district, and then where do your services line up with fulfilling some of those needs, and how could those align with the work of the VPAN? The business proposer, the proposer's approach is obviously the meat of this. And we want you to describe your methodology. So how will you meet not just the work requirement, the actual contract work requirements, and doing that in a very complicated current pandemic environment. So you'll score higher for nuancing and understanding how will you approach this, and not just in a pandemic, but hopefully there'll be times where there'll be a non-pandemic environment. So how will you specifically, how would you use technology in this to do peer services? So around outreach, evaluation, programming. What will you do with crisis to manage crises that come up? And then how will you support staff, specifically peers who we know traditionally are, the nature of peer work is much more emotionally taxing, right? Because we're asking peers to use their stories. And so how will you support them? What's your approach to supporting staff as you move out? And then what's your quality assurance plan? So specifically, if you have any questions about this, you can refer to the scope of work in the Appendix B, which is a sample performance requirements summary chart. So how will you meet the contract requirements? And then how are you going to ensure that you can meet the contract requirements in the current as you can imagine, we will still probably be in the middle of a pandemic, and so issues like staff quarantines, stay-at-home orders, how will you continue to meet the contract requirements given a lot of the turmoil that's currently in the world? And then lastly, you're allotted 5 pages for supplemental attachments. That can include memorandums of understanding, letters of support, diagrams, charts, anything that you think would explain or build on your proposal, on your approach. So the contract funding amounts. So the VPAN contract awarded SCG to it's a total for this fiscal year. It's $3,689,000, and you can see it goes up a little bit next year and the following year. So if you divide that into 5 contracts split evenly, that means that each district will receive 12 months. Each of the districts will receive $737,800, and so that is the amount that we want you to build your budgets off of. Is a 12-month budget based off of $737,800. And I would just say for the 12-month, use that as your first year budget. Don't make, if you do the math out, actually your contract start date is actually October 15th, so it's really about 8.5 months. But we want you to build your budgets as though it's the full fiscal year, or the full contract from the start date as a full 12-month budget. So the 12-month budget, July to June. As I said, don't prorate it. Some things to think about as you're building that, as you're building the budget. Your direct costs will probably, as you can imagine, mostly personnel, but they can also include things like supplies, phones, hardware. Transportation will be a potential cost as well. Obviously, both staff and client, especially as events potentially roll out more and any other program related costs. Indirect costs really shouldn't be any more than 15% of the proposed budget. And that's the limit here. And then SCG will provide, as a reminder, all the training and technology and licenses will be provided by SCG. So you don't have to include those in your budget in your cost proposals. And then for the budget summary narrative, please tell us how you arrived at the total budget or your total cost proposal, and give us a narrative there. The proposal, just as a reminder, please do your math. We can disqualify your proposal if the math doesn't line up between the line item and the budget narrative. So how are we going to make the selection process? It's really important. If you have any questions, this is all written out as well in section 11, page 21 in the RFP. There'll be a 2-level review process. Level 1 is the administrative review. Level 2 is the proposal review. And as I said before, each of the proposals will be reviewed individually by supervisorial district. And they'll be reviewed by a review panel that will be 5 individuals from that supervisorial district with really unique lived experiences in veteran issues. And so if you have any questions about that, you can refer to the RFP. We've broken those down into groups, into perspectives, into groups of veterans or people who could speak specifically into that and help support the selection process based on the rubric. So the level 1 administrative review will be we'll make sure that everything that we've done the due diligence to look through and you meet the eligibility requirements, and specifically some of the conduct of the conflict of interest, and that if there's any other additional information or we need to validate something, this will give us some time to do that. Level 2 will be the proposal review, which if you pass level 1 review, then based on the desired qualifications that I listed earlier in section 8 of the RFP, we will review those based off a rubric, and this will be done in the review panels, and CBOs will score higher when they meet more of the desired qualifications. So some examples of those in that list, right? So knowledge or experience in veteran culture, resources, knowing some of those already, providing services programming, and then some formal experience in collaborating with other veteran service organizations, especially county and VA. Some final notes here to think about. Proposers, if you want to apply to multiple supervisory districts, then you have to submit a proposal for each district that you want to apply to. And so, as you can imagine, each of the approaches will be very different based off of the supervisorial district. That's what we hope for, right? That it's tailored specifically to the supervisorial district. And so if you think the organization might be a good fit, it requires 2 different proposals. Specifically, your approach may change, and especially your description of the supervisory district. Also, you have to apply through our online application process. They won't be accepted any other medium or format. If you haven't logged in and created and seen and logged into our RFP online process, it is a character-driven, so they're boxes. So you'll want to make sure that you provide some time to yourself or to the staff, whoever is uploading those proposals, to make sure that you have the correct format and that those get in on time. The last thing you want to do is run into a situation where you have some technical problems, or you have to edit last second because you don't have the right character limits. Just a reminder, we cannot provide any extensions. We're on a short timeline. There's a lot of work to do, so there'll be no exceptions. And as just a reminder, submission due date is Monday, September 14th, 2020 at 5 p.m. I think that's most of it. I got through a little faster than I thought we would. That's great news. So we're going to shift over to the our question and answers. And at this time, I'd like to introduce two of my colleagues who become good friends here. Kelly Armley, who's a consultant with SDG, and Jim Zenner with LA County to help us answer any questions that you may still have. And thank you for joining us.
Hello, everyone. So Nate, we have just a few questions. So I'll read them out, and Nate and Jim, you guys hop in and answer if you feel like you have a good answer, or I'll try to answer myself. So the first question is, how does VPAN integrate with the SSVF network? Does VPAN serve as a referral source? Do services overlap? Is VPAN focused on those that SSVF do not serve? Basically, how does the VPAN integrate with the SSVF network?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and take that one. So the services might overlap, but not a whole lot. What we're looking to do is, traditionally with SSVF, there's been a lot of folks that show up and they don't meet the income requirements, they don't meet the homeless requirements, maybe they can't get a 3-day notice. And for those folks that don't qualify for SSVF, VPAN would be a seamless handoff for those individuals, so we don't leave veterans falling through the cracks. Also, VPAN will be making a lot of referrals to SSVF as we're outreaching and engaging in the community and running into veterans that could use SSVF services. Part of the integration process is each supervisor district team will have a presence at each of the SPA by name list meetings. And so there will be constant communication with SSVF providers in talking about specific cases. And we can provide mental health support. That seems to be a gap for SSVF providers. But basically, we're going to be looking for filling gaps and minimizing overlap.
Okay, thank you, Jim. The next question, will the tech platform communicate with any other data system? Sorry, someone just did a question in and it just updated, so I need to find that. Okay, sorry. Will the tech platform communicate with any other data system that a contracted CBO may already be using, or will this be dual entry?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and take this one as well. Initially, there won't be integration. We're only requiring that you place referrals into the technology platform. It's not a platform that you're going to do extensive case notes or even case notes. It's just, you're submitting a referral to a service, it tracks that referral, will spit out whether or not it was a successful linkage or not, and also the time it takes from the time somebody requests a service and the referral's put in until it's actually executed and received. So, if an organization requires data entry in a different database, that's not, that's something that we have no control over. Another piece is if you are working with providers that are working with homeless veterans, you are going to be expected to continue to, if you're not already, entering data into HMIS Clarity system.
Okay, thank you. The next question is basically why only 501c3s, why not 501c19? The answer is we'll get back to you. And if you also have that particular question, if you can email the vpan@socalgrantmakers.org, I'll be sure to answer it directly to you. So the next question, to clarify the funding, year one, we're asking for the proposals to reflect a full 12 months. Use the year one figure because year 2 and 3, it's like $5,000 difference. We use the year one figure for full 12 months. However, know that when it comes to the actual contract, it will be prorated. So if the contract is signed and effective as of October 15th, it will be prorated to 8.5 months. The next question, what is the census required per year? And then actually there's another question similar to that. Is there an expectation to serve a certain number of veterans per year? My answer to that is, and Jim, hop in here, but really year one is a baseline. And Jim, you already have gathered some information about the peers that DMH have already hired and their reach so far. So we will be using those statistics to launch the contract with the CBOs and deliver. Jim, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think this is, we're going to have to take a look at this because it's a brand new program. The Battle Buddies are system navigators. We don't really have a good precedence to work off of at this point as far as like capacity for work and projections. So, how we start off in year one will most likely change in year two as we learn from this program and we're tracking data and reporting through the Unite Us platform. So we don't have a specific number, but obviously we're trying to have the largest reach in LA County that makes sense.
Okay, the next question. Any preference for certified SDVOSB or DVBE? Also, any opportunity to subcontract? Jim, I'll let you and Nate answer the first question with those acronyms.
Yeah, so it's basically disabled veteran-owned small business, and really at the county, we try a lot to contract through, obviously, especially for the VPAN, veteran-owned small businesses or disabled veteran small-owned businesses. As far as the subcontracting, I have not seen anywhere where that would make sense up to this point. So my answer would be no at this point in the program development. Doesn't mean to say that in the future, because really the idea of the Veteran Peer Access Network is we're putting 55 peers on the ground across LA County. The department leadership has really made it clear that they're looking at these 55 individuals to really guide what's needed in LA County and to tell us. And so we can learn, like, these are the gaps. This isn't what's working. And throughout that process, as services are needed, transportation's a big one. And I know county is definitely looking for disabled veteran small-owned businesses that do transportation specifically. As those opportunities open up and the needs are identified, and of course the fiscal situation with the county changes, opportunities will likely arise.
Okay, thank you. Are there any plans to increase the qualifications maybe for the peer-to-peer certification process? For instance, LMU offers a 6-month course.
Nate, did you want to take that one? Or?
Yeah, sure, I'll take it. Yeah, so I think right now our training piece is really focused on ensuring that all of the peers are trained and certified and peer support specialists to be peer support specialists trained. And the idea here is that, in the long term, we could potentially build a peer workforce, right, that would have access. If we can demonstrate that is really successful, then we can start to build a veteran peer workforce. We right now, that is our first tier is just making sure that peers are trained to be through the VA approved veteran peer support specialist. To my knowledge, that LMU is not. It might be a good feeder. So people who've gone through that might be good candidates for some of our peer for the VPAN. But what we would and then our peers will also receive, as we mentioned in our RFP, that they will receive some additional training. And I could see that there would be need for more training later on. But for now, I think our concern is that the peers are rooted in kind of foundational peer, as foundationally peer support specialists, and then we'll supplement that with some of the unique training that they need here in Los Angeles and working with veteran military families. But outside of that, there are no plans to kind of involve sort of expand into more peer training certificates.
Yeah, the only thing to add to that is, the reason why we are making sure that's VA approved is the local medical center that hires peer support, and they're currently hiring peer support. Those jobs, they have to have the VA approved certification to even apply. And so we want to make sure that they have, veterans have the right peer support that can possibly get them in the door at the VA and lead to jobs that, if they have experience prior, they can come in the VA system as a GS-9 making, 55, 60,000 a year. So we want to make sure that we're setting veterans up for success in that regard.
Excellent, thank you. Can you talk a little bit about the roles of the DMH and CBO teams and how they work together?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and take this one. So the DMH peers, so the referrals will come through the platform or the support line, the VPAN support line that is going to be 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. 7 days a week. We currently don't have a text or chat feature, but we will be adding that soon. So those are the way that the referrals are going to come in. They're going to go through the DMH staff, the 3 per supervisor district. And if it's not mental health related during the brief screening process, those referrals will be filtered on down to that district team's battle buddies or CBO teams. And that would be, like food insecurities, housing insecurities, anything that's not mental health specific related. So there'll be kind of like a triage happening at the DMH level. And then those referrals will go down to the battle buddies in each supervisor district. That's not to say that if you get a referral, so I've noticed a lot of the providers on this call have VA contracts, either SSVF, HUD, VASH, or both. If you guys are running into veterans, you guys can absolutely take the referral. And at that point, if there is a mental health condition, like we've kind of been trying to build out with SSVF currently, where if there's a high mental health need to get us involved so we can provide that additional support, it'd be the same way. You would get the veteran, and if they have mental health needs, then you would refer up to the DMH peer team. But if it's not mental health related, then you would just accept that referral and then place any kind of referrals that you place on behalf of the veteran through the Unitas platform, and that's how the data would get tracked.
Excellent. Okay, we have another eligibility question regarding why nonprofit firm, why a 501c3, what's the rationale, and this one particularly is for why not a for-profit public health firm. So we will table that. We will go back and talk to our contracting team and get a clarification, and we will post it to our website. And this is from Dr. Walker. If you could email me your email address, I will return the reply directly to you, as well as posting it to the Q&A section of our RFP website. Next question. What is the vetting process for veteran nonprofit organizations and community partners to be admitted to the veteran providers database? So this is through you.
Let me try to take this one. So through our negotiations with the technology platform so far, it looks like they allocate a community relations or engagement manager, and that person would send an email where you'd fill out, and I've filled out the one on behalf of DMH. It's a pretty quick 4-pager. You just put some information about your agency, about whatever specific program. So, if you have a large nonprofit and you do several different things, you got a lot of different programs that you want listed, you would have the opportunity to put each program in there. And then that is actually managed through the tech platform that we're bringing on board. But it's a pretty simple process. I was able to knock it out in about 15, 20 minutes. So it's not a big burden.
Excellent. Thank you. The next question. Regarding the 8 positions, are there any uniform salary rates or ranges? And are the CBOs required to provide specific benefits? And I feel comfortable taking this question. So we do want market rates. So, do your research online and find market rates for these positions, because we do want to be competitive and we do want to find the best qualified folks for these positions. And then as far as your benefit rate, it should be, your benefit rate for your organization. Typically, benefits run between 28 to 32% is kind of a normal range or a standard range, but it should be, you should present in your proposal what your actual benefit rates run. Next question. Will CBOs be required to collaborate with VOA in each supervisory district? I would say yes. Jim?
Collaborate with what in each CBO?
VOA in each supervisory district.
VOA as in Volunteers of America?
It just says VOA. I assume that's what they mean?
Yeah, so I mean, that's the only acronym that I can make that mean.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like, I mean, this is not a program, it's a network. And in order to minimize, Nate was saying, in order to minimize and eliminate veterans falling through the cracks, we all have to be working together. And that will definitely be expected of each and every one of the 5 providers that are selected.
Yeah, one thing that you'll see in the desired qualifications, and when we talk about collaboration too, I think you'll also see that you have some history in referring and making links to other agencies or other services outside of your own, because wherever the peers are, they will exist, as Jim said, as linkage points, not necessarily. That you could refer internally potentially, but they would exist as sort of at a higher plane as linkage points for the whole supervisory district. And so that would require your peers to be connected to any of the services that may help a veteran or military family member in that supervisory district.
Okay, thank you. The next question is a long one, so I'm going to abbreviate it. Basically, in the RFP, we state how we're expecting a lot of connections to critical resources, but we don't reference help with criminal law. CVJP is the only entity that helps upon arrest with the entire population listed, and the county ATI didn't include anyone for veterans. We hope to address that need. Does VPAN want to collaborate with CVJP? Should I read the whole question? Or?
So, yeah, no, I think I get the gist of it. And so my answer would be we are collaborating with CVJP. We help make sure that they got space in Patriotic Hall. We integrated them to the existing DMH team, the 15 that are spread across the county. We've been doing a lot of great work together. And we've also, through the collaboration with CVJP and the legal and reentry working group at the collaborative, we actually helped the gentleman not get evicted. We had to go out and move a lot of stuff out of his house and kind of get it to the point to where it was okay, and they weren't going to evict him. And so we've been doing a lot of great work with CVJP and adding a 40 peers out in the community. I just imagine that growing.
Excellent. Okay, the next question. Are there any potential overlap issues with VASH peer support working with VPAN peers if we wanted to combine our CBO's peer support efforts?
Yeah, so I think that's a great question. We've had a lot of conversations internally as a team, SCG and DMH, and we're avoiding overlap. there's enough need out there of veterans who aren't eligible. So the idea, so your peer, so if an organization had peers through the HUD-VASH and then also were awarded one of the 5 contracts, those peers would be linkers, they would be outreach, they'd be navigators. If somebody is eligible for HUD-VASH, it's a very simple handoff. And it would be great if it was from a peer to a peer, that handoff. So the peer within the HUD-VASH program could do all the enrollment, take all over that as quickly as possible, and really keep the 2 services separated so that that VPAN peer can be out and engaging other veterans who might need linkage help versus once somebody's eligible for service, getting them in.
Excellent. Okay, the next question. Is each year an automatic renewal, or is it based on performance? The idea would be that we find a CBO and we're helping, we have a successful year 1 so that we will renew, but it's not an automatic renew. I mean, it will be based on how well the relationship worked for that first year. As we previously discussed, we don't have right now set outcome data targets. So I'm assuming this question is leading to, is it based on a performance and meaning set data? We obviously at this point in time don't have that set data to where we can say, look, you have to hit these particular numbers and then you'll get a renewal. But as you read the RFP, you know, SCG does have the right not to renew the contract. However, the goal would be to have a strong, lasting relationship because we're investing a lot in year 1, and hopefully year 2 and 3, we're really gonna receive the fruits of our labor in year 1. Next question. Will a LAC team and CBO team operate in each supervisory district? Similar shared outcome. Yes, Jim and Jim, you can jump in, but DMH and SCG, we're working hand in hand to make sure these teams are integrated and they're linked together and they do have shared goals and shared outcomes. Jim, I don't know if you want to expand on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, really, it's just the DMH peers will be doing a lot of air traffic controlling, a lot of, you know, presence in the meetings, things like that, and will disseminate the variety, the majority, majority of referrals to the CBOs. But we're going to need to meet regularly, the 2 teams, and act as a team. Also, on top of those 2 teams, there's also other departments that we're getting involved. So Department of Military Veteran Affairs has committed to and assigned a VSO for each team as well. So this is like a joint task force type situation to where we're trying to get all the right departments, all the right entities to put some skin in the game. We're also talking to VHA about having a VA peer support. So as we're running into veterans out in the community that are VH eligible, want VA, those peers can take that referral and run with it and help them navigate into their system. So yeah, a lot of collaboration, a lot of just, and it's really about creating efficiency. Because a DMH peer trying to navigate the VA or a VA peer trying to navigate the community or DMH, it's just not efficient. But if we have participation from all the different sectors and all the different entities on these teams, we can do very seamless handoff. And the idea is to always hand from peer to peer or person to person, not hand somebody a website or a phone number, but actually make human contact and connection.
Thank you. The next question, what are the prerequisites to become a peer? I can refer you to section 6.3 staffing requirements of the RFP. But we are strongly prefer a veteran or a military family member. But again, we're looking for the most qualified person. And also remember, they will be required to have the trainings that we previously mentioned in our presentation here, and it's also detailed in the RFP. Nate, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, the only thing I would add on that, I think that's right. I think the only thing I would add would be, there may be organizations where you have peers that would want to be part of these battle buddy teams, and they could, and they have already been trained. They depending on their certification and when they got it, that could be a conversation we'd have if they've already had the training. But generally, we would want everyone to kind of go through some kind of the standardized peer specialist training as a team and as a way to sort of build those, at very least at the rally point level. And so, yeah, I think in terms of qualifications, obviously veteran military family background, and then some experience. This will ultimately, as CBOs, you'll have to figure out who these peer teams will be, but you'd want to have peers that are well connected, thoughtful, have a lot of follow through, all the things that make for a really good peer. And that may be a conversation once the contract start dates with to think about how you staff up, given that there is a fast moving timeline.
Okay, the next question. Do you envision the peers needing outposts in addition to the rally points once the COVID safety standards are defined for peer meetings?
So, I think you're going to hear me beat this drum a lot, but I think it really depends on your district, on your supervisory district. That some of the districts are going to lend themselves that one centralized rally point is, you're going to have a lot of outposts, especially to the north. I think there may be other places where you have to have a few different access points as part. But I think that there's not like a cut and dry answer, but I do think that there's depending on the supervisory district, you may, we're calling sort of community access points, where places you can engage the veteran peer access network, and not actually in the physical location. And so I think there's a lot of opportunity to rethink what that looks like, not just physically, but also virtually. So, you could go to places. You could imagine a world where you go to places and you can access the network and peers without actually being in a physical location. And that some of that creativity and some of that approach can be discussed in the approaches.
Okay, kind of in tangent here. Are there any considerations or expansions for rally points with the LAC public health restriction? So I think that kind of.
I guess I don't understand the question.
Considerations or expansions. I mean, part of what we will be working to support with the selected CBO is their approach in providing these services in the current environment that we're in.
Yeah, I can add a little bit to that, Kelly. So one thing that I just touched on in the info session, but I think it's an important something to think about even in your approaches, is that the peer work, peer services are important, very high touch. In an environment where you can't actually do a lot of like handshakes and like a physical warm handoff. That really has to be considered and thought about. And what does it look like to? I think the tech to share or to refer people in the given environment. And I think the technology platform will support that. It's supposed to be inherently mobile, but that's certainly something to think about. How the peers will engage and refer. There's some flexibility in how you define that and how you approach that. given that, there may be, for the foreseeable future, there's, physical distancing may be really limited.
Okay, next question. If a census is not established, how will success be measured between a small and large nonprofit, i.e. small, large footprint capacity? So, I mean, as far as each CBO and each district is being awarded the exact same funding to deploy the exact same number of folks. So perhaps the question might be more about the veterans in that particular supervisory district. And I think that's why we've organized this RFP into supervisory districts, and part of the proposal process is also for the CBOs to identify the veteran population within your district, and that will help form some of those measures that as a team we're going to have to figure out as we start this new program from the ground up.
Yeah, the only thing I would add to that, Kelly, is that the demographics of your veterans will absolutely, and the geographical area that you serve will absolutely play into an approach. And a strong proposal will take that into account, right? That your approach has to cater towards the demographic of veteran and military family that you're seeking to serve.
Okay, next question. Will contact information for each VOA site be provided to awardees so we communicate directly with the right person? I'm going to say anything that we can do to make communication streamlined and more effective, we're certainly open to doing. Jim?
Yeah, I mean, VOA is just one of many great organizations doing great work out there. I mean, it's not just VOA. We want every organization listed and ready, and hopefully eventually to become partners on the tech platform, so everybody's services can be utilized. Another piece is we really, the platform will also be able to produce reports, and those reports will show the great work that organizations are doing. And that can be used to get additional funding. So that's another piece that has not been brought up that we're focused on with the technology platform, is that we want to provide a tool for organizations that are doing great work to be able to report out on and get additional funding and increase our ability to serve everybody, every veteran and military family member.
Okay. What are we looking at in terms of CBOs coordinating with SCG to secure spaces, CAPS specifically? And do we see the staff being there and also providing transport, doing classes? Correct, that's the idea post-COVID, when we're able to be out in the community on site. We want to be visible. We want to be at those local places where veterans are, including not only just the rally points, but then the CAPS, or it's kind of that that hub and spoke concept. And yes, we would like staff there. At the CAPS, I can't imagine that it's not full time, but there will be scheduled. We would expect that there's scheduled times when they're there and accessible to veterans who frequent those places. And as far as transportation, yes, that's part of the RFP. It explains in there whether, if you happen to have within your organization, if you happen to have a vehicle, great. But if not, also just assisting with bus tokens, taxi vouchers, or Uber rides or Lyft rides. Anything else, guys, to add?
Yeah, I would say, you know, the goals of the Veteran Peer Access Network is to decrease homelessness, suicide, and unemployment. So with that in mind, in your particular district, you know, think through and put in proposals, if you do submit a proposal, how you're going to attack it. What are the key community access points in your supervisor district to specifically mitigate those areas?
Okay, and this is a great question. Can we clarify the licensed program manager requirement? Would an experienced ASW veteran still be eligible? And so part of the not the idea, but the reason why we're looking for a licensed mental health professional is we're looking ahead in the future on the sustainability of this program. And part of that is being able to bill Medi-Cal for peer services. And part of that requirement requires a licensed mental health worker to do supervision. Jim?
Yeah, that's exactly right. There's pending peer support legislation that hopefully will get passed this time around that will allow that to happen in California. California is one of 10 states that does not have a peer certification, and the department has been advocating very strongly to help get that bill passed. So Department of Health and Human Services mandates for Medi-Cal billing that peer support meet with a mental health professional, licensed mental health professional, once every 2 weeks in order to draw down those funds.
Okay. Will VPAN CBOs address the needs of military reservists, National Guard, and all vets, regardless of discharge status? Yes.
You're speaking my love language. Yeah, so one of the points of the VPAN is that just kind of broadly, one of the issues that comes up a lot is the definition of veteran. Really, we're using the broadest definition of veteran possible. So the Veteran Peer Access Network is really anyone who served in the military and any families who are connected to the military or you know, married to a veteran. We're really the broadest definition possible. So that includes National Guard, Reserve, people who didn't deploy but served for 3 years in the Guard. You know, anyone who's military connected or served in the military. And just as a point there, I think too, the language we'll use will be, did you serve in the military? Because there is even in the contract, there's a specific point as well to women veterans who may not always identify as veterans.
Okay, this is our last question. Will VPAN CBOs go into the jails to help with those in custody?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a very key cap or community access point to really kind of get out in front of homelessness and suicide, and obviously under and unemployment for veterans. So that would make a lot of sense as a community access point for CBOs.
Excellent, thank you. That's it. That's the last of our questions. Feel free, if you have further questions or you felt like you didn't get a clear enough answer, please either go to the SCG's RFP website, which is in the chat of this webinar, or go to, or just email vpan@socalgrantmakers.org. And we will get back to you, and we're trying to make sure we get back to anyone who sends an email within 24 hours. So thank you all for your time.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for your interest, and please make sure that you submit your questions in time so we can answer those. And if you have any questions, we'll be in touch. Thank you for your interest.
Thanks, everybody.